Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive today into, well, a really fascinating and maybe surprising topic: Vietnam's gambling landscape.
Yeah, and we're sticking strictly to the sources you've shared. They paint a picture of what they call a silent player that's quietly becoming quite the growth engine.
Exactly. So our mission here is to pull out the key trends, the contradictions, and maybe where this is all heading based only on what's in this material.
And right off the bat, the sources show this major paradox. You've got online gambling being explicitly banned by law.
Right, completely illegal.
But offline is, well, it's very tightly controlled, and yet somehow the market, especially the underground part, is apparently booming.
It's definitely not simple. The way the sources describe the government strategy is kind of slow, strict, gray area. So not a total ban hammer, but more like cautious steps. They want control, stability, but they're also looking for that economic growth, it seems.
You really see that tension playing out offline. The sources point to a pretty significant shift with that pilot program at the Phu Quoc Corona Casino.
Ah, yes, the one allowing locals in.
That's the one. It ended December 31st, 2024, and the sources say it won't be extended.
And the official reasons?
It's cited as insufficient results, high regulatory cost, social risks. Basically, the sources call it a policy rollback for Vietnamese citizens gambling legally.
Okay, so a pullback for locals. But then, and this is where it gets really interesting looking at the sources together.
Yeah.
At the same time, they mention this big push for new foreign investment projects, like that proposed $2 billion Van Don integrated resort.
Right, that's back on the table, apparently, as of January 2025.
And that one is aimed, mainly at foreign tourists and high net worth crowd.
So that kind of reveals the core strategy the sources are describing, doesn't it? Vietnam sees the economic upside in gambling.
The value is there.
But wants it controlled. Really controlled, and mostly serving international visitors. The sources use the phrase, limit local, allow foreign.
Makes sense. And there are about, 9 legal casinos, mostly tied into resorts, which fits that tourism angle.
Exactly, that's the official side, the controlled picture, even if it's a bit messy.
But then there's the whole other side. The sources paint this picture of a massive underground market. The number they cite from 2023 reports is, well, it's huge, over $10 billion.
Yeah, that $10 billion figure is pretty startling, especially given the official bans and controls, and it's widespread, apparently.
Not just cities.
No, even into rural areas. And the methods are, well, kind of a mix. Motorcycle couriers, phone orders, private payments. Old school meets new tech.
And what are people betting on?
Mostly sports betting, seems like. Football, NBA, those are big. And illegal lotteries, which sources describe almost like a daily habit for some.
Daily habit.
And electronic slots, too, often kind of disguised as arcade games or even apps.
So, okay, that's the physical underground, but what about online? The sources say it's strictly illegal for locals, but also thriving underground. How does that work?
Well, the sources detail how people get around it. VPNs are common, obviously, to hide location.
That good stuff.
Yeah, and virtual currencies like USDT, that's a stable coin, a digital dollar, basically are used. Plus, third-party payment apps, the local ones like Momo, ZaloPay, they bypass the banks.
Okay, so avoiding traditional financial trails.
Exactly. And social media is massive. Telegram, Facebook groups, and especially Zalo.
Zalo's huge in Vietnam. Dominant.
The sources say something like 85% of the population uses it. So these platforms are recruitment grounds, communication channels, everything. Underground agents are apparently very active there.
Wow. Using Zalo like that, something so integrated into daily life. That'd be a huge challenge for regulators.
It really is. But speaking of regulators, there's a little hint in the sources about future policy. It's subtle.
Oh, what's that?
While they're cracking down on illegal sites, the Ministry of Finance apparently proposed studying online gambling regulation in late 2024.
Studying it, not banning it harder.
Right. It suggests they might be thinking about, exploring some kind of controlled gray to white pilot programs down the line.
Like maybe state-backed digital lottery or sports betting apps, trying to capture some of that demand but keep it controlled.
Potentially. It's about balancing that undeniable digital demand with the desire for control. It's a maybe, but the sources mention it.
Interesting. And what about the players themselves? Did the sources give a profile?
Yeah, they profiled them as mostly male, 25 to 40, often urban workers.
And the motivation?
Seems like economic pressure is a big driver. The desire for quick gains. And group influence, especially through the social media, plays a big role.
And preference-wise, you said sports betting is king.
Yeah, the sources estimate it's about 60% of the underground market. Lotteries are popular too, seen as that daily habit, and slots are apparently catching on with younger players.
It really shows how plugged in this whole scene is to Vietnam's digital life. You mentioned the high internet penetration.
Almost 79%. And social media use over 75%. Plus, almost everyone has a smartphone.
Right. That whole digital infrastructure, especially with Zalo being so central, it just fuels this underground market, doesn't it? It makes it easier to organize and operate under the radar.
Absolutely. It provides the perfect environment in a way.
So, looking ahead, say the next 3 years or so, what do the sources predict? More of the same tension?
Pretty much. Continued government attempts at control versus this huge underlying demand. Online probably won't become fully legal anytime soon.
But maybe those official pilot programs we mentioned.
Right? Possibly some small, controlled trials. The underground market, though, that's expected to continue. Offline, the focus stays on foreign investment, big resorts, tourism money.
And the players might evolve, too. Maybe shifting how they see it.
Yeah, the source suggests maybe moving towards framing it as entertainment or even a kind of gray investment using digital tools.
So it really boils down to that core tension you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. A government trying to keep a lid on this massive underground momentum while strategically using the legal offline side to attract foreign cash and maybe, just maybe, dipping a toe into official digital options.
It's a real balancing act, as the sources describe it. Complex stuff.
Definitely.
It certainly is. So, a final thought for you listening. Given this really unique digital landscape in Vietnam, the near universal mobile use, the deep social media penetration with platforms like Zalo, how do you think technology will keep shaping this ongoing cat-and-mouse game between regulation and the underground gambling scene? Maybe in ways we haven't seen in other markets? Something to think about.